Woodhaven family, and welcome back to the Journey 24/7 podcast. As you know, we finished up yesterday with Genesis chapter 38. We saw Judah and Tamar and how they ended up having the twins together, and how it was rooted in a place of a sinful choice, but that the Lord was still glorified through it, and how Judah became more aware of his own sin and became more humble and recognized that he wasn't very righteous in the way that he was acting. But today we're shifting our gears back to Joseph. Remember last we saw of Joseph, he had been sold into slavery by his brothers. And here we see that Joseph was brought into Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, had bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. It says the Lord was with Joseph and he became a successful man. So the Lord was with him, he was successful, and his master Potiphar saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord caused all that he did to succeed in his hands. See, he realized it wasn't Joseph. There was nothing special about him. It was because the Lord was blessing his work, that everything was becoming successful in that he was doing. It says, so Joseph found favor in Potiphar's sight, and he made him the overseer of his house and put him in charge of all that he had. So Joseph goes from being bought into slavery, but then to this high position of being over Potiphar's house. There was honor here. There was dignity here. His work was being blessed by the Lord, and there was result from that. So Potiphar trusted Joseph and left all that he had. Well, one day, Potiphar's wife sees Joseph, and it says that Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. When his wife comes to Joseph, Potiphar's wife comes to Joseph and says, "Hey, come lie with me." Well, Joseph says, "Behold, because of me, my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my charge. He is not greater in this house than I am, nor has he kept back anything from me except you, because you are his wife. How then can I do great wickedness and sin against God?" So he says, Potiphar's been good to me. He views me on the same level as him. He's been respectful to me. He's been kind. He's been gracious. I'm not going to commit this sin against God, and I'm not going to commit anything against Potiphar. Joseph was being righteous here. Now again, not perfect, but righteous. He was doing the right thing. And we're seeing that in strict contrast from what we saw yesterday, where Judah, when his wife passes away, goes and lays with a prostitute, to hear Joseph saying, "No, I will not go and lie with you," to Potiphar's wife. Well, the scriptures continue, and it makes it pretty clear that Potiphar's wife continues to try to get Joseph to do this. But he won't. He won't listen to her. He refuses to do it. It says, but one day when he went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house were there in the house, she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand and fled and got out of the house. So she tries to get him in this one-on-one situation, and he still says no and flees. But she had his garment. And so then she creates this story. She crafts this story that Joseph actually was the one that was trying to sleep with her, and that she screamed and he fled. She tells the men of the household that, and then ultimately goes and tells Potiphar that as well. Well, of course, as soon as Potiphar hears this, he's angry. He believes what his wife has told him. He believes this is what happened. And it says, as soon as the master heard the words that his wife spoke to him, "This is the way your servant treated me," his anger was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in prison. So Potiphar believes this, and he throws Joseph into prison. So from Joseph's perspective at this point, his brothers have sold him into slavery, and now was proving himself, and by again proving himself, it really wasn't him, it was because the Lord was blessing what he was doing. But he was living in a way that was righteous and that was honoring the Lord and also honoring Potiphar. Yet he still had somebody make up a lie about him and cause him to end up in prison. That would have been real easy for Joseph to get really discouraged at this point. But we see in verse 21, "But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever was done there, he was the one who did it." The keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it succeed. So again, in this situation, the Lord was still with Joseph. The Lord was still blessing what Joseph was doing. And almost instantly, Joseph was back to being still in prison. It's not like his life was great at this point. It's not like everything looked like it was a lot of fun at this point, but he was over the things in the prison. He was constantly being elevated to a leadership position because the Lord was blessing his work. Joseph was also still faithful to the Lord. He was faithful to the work. And he did not let the circumstances just cause him to be in despair and to walk away. The Lord was moving despite what was happening to him. The Lord was making things happen. And as we're going to see in these coming chapters, as always, the Lord always had a plan. And there was a reason for all of this happening. And it was ultimately going to lead us to Christ. Remember what we talked about. The Old Testament is constantly pointing us to Christ. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow as we finish out our week in Genesis chapter 40.